I am Caroline Mitchell, 30 years old, and a single mother to my beautiful 5-year-old daughter, Madeline. Picture this: Thanksgiving dinner, the aroma of roast turkey filling the air, laughter echoing around the table. But then it all shattered. My father, William Foster, called me the family disgrace and threw us out into the cold November night. What he didn't know was that he and the rest of my family had been living off my $20 million fortune for years. I simply said, "Fine," and walked out with my head held high. Before I dive into what happened next, let me know where you're watching from in the comments. If my story resonates with you, please hit subscribe because what unfolded changed everything for me and my daughter. Growing up in the Foster family meant appearances were everything. Our modern craftsman home in an affluent Maryland neighborhood was always pristine, ready for surprise visits from my father's investment partners or my mother's yoga collective friends. My father, a private equity partner, measured success in dollar signs and social standing. My mother, Eleanor, was the perfect executive wife, immaculately dressed, socially connected, and obsessed with maintaining our family's flawless reputation. From an early age, I learned that approval in our house was conditional. "Stand up straight, Caroline," my mother would whisper harshly at social gatherings. "Your posture makes you look slovenly." My father's criticisms were more direct. "Why can't you get straight A's like your brother Thomas? Or why can't you be more like Jennifer? She never gave us this much trouble at your age." Thomas, 2 years older, was the golden child, captain of the debate team, Yale-bound, and seemingly perfect in every way. Jennifer, my older sister by 4 years, was the social butterfly who married her college sweetheart Paul right after graduation and quickly produced 2 perfectly timed grandchildren. Then there was me, always the odd one out, more interested in computers than cotillions, more fascinated by startups than social status. But that night, as the cold air sliced through my resolve, I realized something profound. Is independence worth the price of exile? The neighbors' Christmas lights twinkled mockingly, reminding me of the warmth I had just left behind. I felt a fracture inside me, but maybe that fracture is where true strength begins. The air was thick with tension as I sat on the couch listening to my mother's disappointed whispers float through the room like ominous clouds. "Caroline's made a mess of things," she said, her voice dripping with disdain. Each glance shot my way felt like daggers. The scent of rain wafted in from the window, but it couldn't wash away the chill settling in my bones. Holding my breath, I clutched my growing baby bump, pondering a gut-wrenching question. Could I really survive this storm alone? Just then, the door slammed shut behind my father, leaving me engulfed in suffocating silence. I had always excelled in school, but my heart wasn't in the country club events that mattered to my parents. That all changed during my senior year of college when I met Jack, a bright spark in my business ethics class. He saw me, truly saw me, and felt like a dream. 6 months in, I discovered I was pregnant. My world turned upside down. When I broke the news, Jack vanished, blocking my number, dropping out of our classes like I was invisible. When I called my parents, the silence felt like an eternity. 27 seconds ticking away. My father's words stung. "You've always been determined to embarrass this family. Come home. We'll figure it out." What he proposed was simply not an option for me. I wasn't their pawn. When I insisted on keeping my baby, the real punishment began. At family gatherings, instead of love and support, I faced cold shoulders and backhanded comments about reckless decisions. Every day was a struggle. I secured a tiny studio apartment, taking freelance coding jobs while my daughter, Madeline, slept beside me. Hidden from my family's judgment, I nurtured a startup idea I'd dreamed of since sophomore year. While they mocked and condescended, I quietly built something extraordinary. By Madeline's first birthday, I had secured seed funding. By her third birthday, I made a deal that felt surreal, a $20 million acquisition after taxes. But I kept this success under wraps, moving into a modest home and lying about landing a stable job in tech support, all to shield my daughter from their scorn and my own insecurities. Every family gathering was a battlefield, but I was determined to show them that my independence didn't come with a price. It came with hope. With each passing day, the fracture inside me became a source of strength. Hidden in the shadows, I built my life. Would I finally emerge from this darkness into the light of acceptance? That question lingered as I prepared for the battle ahead. I wanted them to accept me and Madeline for who we were, not for my bank account. Meanwhile, I quietly became their financial savior. When my father's investments took a hit during the recession, I anonymously covered their mortgage through a shell company. When Thomas's business ventures needed capital, mysterious angel investors emerged. And when Jennifer needed tuition for her children's exclusive private school, scholarships mysteriously materialized. Despite it all, Madeline blossomed into a bright, caring little girl, somehow untouched by my family's subtle cruelty. She loved visiting her grandparents' house, blissfully unaware of their backhanded compliments and how they constantly compared her to Jennifer's perfectly polished children. Thanksgiving arrived, and Madeline was 5 years old while I was 30. I had secretly hoped that time might soften my family's judgment. Madeline had been excited for weeks about seeing her cousins and indulging in her grandmother's famous apple pie. I convinced myself that this time would be different. This year, maybe they would finally see us. Really see us and accept us for who we were. I couldn't have been more wrong. The morning of Thanksgiving broke bright and chilly. Madeline sprang onto my bed at 6 a.m., her eyes sparkling with joy. "Is it time to go to Grandma and Grandpa's house yet?" she chirped, her curly blonde hair fanning out like a cloud. "Not yet, sweetheart," I replied, pulling her close. "We have plenty of time to get ready." For weeks, I had meticulously planned. I ordered a case of my father's favorite Bordeaux, spending more on those bottles than my parents would ever believe I earned in a week. Thoughtful gifts were wrapped and nestled in the car: a handcrafted leather portfolio for my father, a designer scarf for my mother, and educational toys for my niece and nephew. After breakfast, I called my mother to confirm our arrival time. Her voice was tightly wound, each syllable clipped. "We're eating at 4 sharp. Caroline, your father doesn't like delays." Could it be another year filled with judgment masked as family time? My chest tightened with anxiety as I nodded, knowing this was just the beginning of yet another tense holiday. As the hours slipped away, I prepared myself, and Madeline too. I wanted her to shine, to experience joy amid the underlying tension. But with every minute that passed, a shadow lurked at the edge of my hope. This Thanksgiving could be just another battlefield in the ongoing struggle for acceptance. Would they ever see the incredible bond between us? Would they embrace the independence I fought so hard to build? The questions swirled in my mind as we set off for my parents' house with a mix of anticipation and dread. "We'll be there by 2, Mom. Can I bring anything?" A pause. Jennifer's handling the side dishes. "She makes such wonderful sweet potatoes. You just focus on getting yourself and Madeline here on time, and please make sure Madeline wears something appropriate." Last Christmas, that plaid dress was a bit much. The plaid dress had been a beautiful velvet holiday dress that Madeline adored. I bit back a retort. "Well, be properly dressed, Mom. See you soon." After hanging up, I took a deep breath before waking Madeline up from her nap. We spent the afternoon getting ready, and I helped Madeline into the new dress I'd bought her. Navy blue with white trim, conservative enough for my parents, but still pretty enough that Madeline felt special wearing it. "You look beautiful, baby," I told her as I braided her hair. "You too, Mommy," she replied, touching the sleeve of my burgundy sweater dress. "Will Uncle Thomas be there? He promised to show me a card trick last time." "Everyone will be there," I assured her, "and we're going to have a wonderful time." The drive to my parents' suburban home took 45 minutes. It was a stately colonial with perfect landscaping and a circular driveway where my father insisted all cars be parked in order of arrival with his Mercedes, always positioned prominently by the front steps. What my family didn't know was that I had been making their mortgage payments for the past 3 years after my father's investment portfolio took a devastating hit. The house they took such pride in would have been foreclosed on without my anonymous intervention. We arrived at 1:45 minutes early. Madeline clutched her small gift bags for her grandparents as we walked to the door. I balanced the wine case and my own packages, taking a steadying breath before ringing the doorbell. My sister Jennifer answered her perfect bob swinging as she gave me an appraising once over. "You're early," she said, not quite hiding her annoyance. She turned to Madeline with a manufactured smile. "Hello, Madeline." The rain-scented air hung heavy as Caroline Mitchell stepped into her childhood home, the familiar smell of turkey wafting from the kitchen. She felt a pang of nostalgia mixed with dread. Would her family's judgment rain down like the clouds outside? "Let's bring joy today," she whispered, glancing down at her daughter Madeline. Clutching her small gift bags, Madeline's eyes sparkled with excitement, but Caroline could sense the shyness creeping in. "Go find your cousin, sweetheart," she urged, but there, standing at the door, was Jennifer, Caroline's sister. "You're early," she noted coolly, her smile plastic. No hug, no warmth, just a scripted welcome. Caroline's heart sank. Did Jennifer even see her daughter? Self-doubt buzzed in Caroline's mind. "Well, if it isn't the little sister," Thomas, her older brother, chimed in, his condescending grin a reminder of their unspoken hierarchy. "Still at that tech support job?" "Still going strong," Caroline replied, fighting the urge to reveal that she now owned a thriving company, employing over 50 people. Instead, she plastered on a smile to mask her hurt. Then came her father's voice from the study, dripping with disdain. "She's early, of course. Probably has nowhere else to be. At least it's not another inappropriate outfit." Each word carved deeper into Caroline, but she straightened her shoulders. Today was about Madeline. In the kitchen, her mother's frosty gaze met hers. "You're early," Eleanor Andrews stated, the same tone echoing from childhood. Caroline resisted the urge to react. "Hi, Mom. Happy Thanksgiving." But as Caroline placed the gifts down and prepared to endure yet another holiday dinner, a sudden realization struck her. What if this year was different? What if, just for once, she could assert her independence? She felt a surge of resilience. Would she finally stand up against the subtle belittling, the smothering expectations? This Thanksgiving, she vowed to protect not just herself, but Madeline too. Could family acceptance be on the horizon? As the turkey crisped in the oven, Caroline took a deep breath, ready to fight for the acceptance and love they both deserved. Jennifer thought it would be more civilized. "Of course," I said, gathering them up again. "Can I help with anything in here?" "Jennifer and I have it under control. Why don't you go check on Madeline? Make sure she's not disturbing Aiden and Zoe's game time." I nodded and left the familiar disappointment settling in my stomach. Still, I reminded myself this was just the beginning of the evening. Things could improve. I just needed to stay positive and keep Madeline's spirits up. In the hallway, I overheard Jennifer and my father talking in hushed tones. "She's wearing a nice dress," at least Jennifer was saying, though God knows how she afforded it on her salary. "Probably maxing out credit cards again," my father replied. "Some people never learn financial responsibility." I hurried past, pretending not to hear my cheeks burning with the irony of his statement. The man whose mortgage I secretly paid was lecturing about financial responsibility. By the time I reached the playroom, I had composed myself. I found Madeline sitting alone in the corner flipping through a picture book while her cousins played a video game deliberately excluding her. "Hey, sweetheart," I said brightly. "Having fun?" Her small smile didn't reach her eyes. Aiden says, "I'm too little to play their game." My heart ached, but I kept my voice upbeat. "Well, why don't we go see if Grandma needs help in the kitchen? I bet she'd love to show you how to fold the napkins into those fancy shapes you like." As we walked hand in hand back toward the kitchen, I made a silent promise to Madeline. No matter what happened tonight, I would protect her from understanding the true nature of our family's treatment. She deserved to believe in the warmth and acceptance that should come with family, even if the reality fell painfully short. At precisely 4 Destir, my mother rang the small silver bell that had been a wedding gift from her own mother. The sound cut through the house, summoning everyone to the dining room. Madeline squeezed my hand as we approached the lavishly set table. The seating arrangement was a silent declaration of our place in the family. My father sat at the head, my mother at the opposite end. Thomas and Jennifer, along with their spouses and children, occupied the coveted middle seats. Madeline and I were relegated to the far end, as if our perceived failures might somehow taint the rest. "Everyone, take your assigned seats," my father commanded, though no place cards were needed. We all knew our rank in this family hierarchy. Madeline climbed into her chair, her little feet dangling above the floor. No one had thought to provide a booster seat. The one sat unused in the corner, a relic from when Jennifer's children were younger. "Samantha, make sure Madeline doesn't spill anything on the tablecloth," my mother instructed. "It's Belgian lace." "She'll be careful," I assured her, placing a napkin across Madeline's lap. I offered my daughter an encouraging smile, which she returned, though uncertainty flickered in her eyes. My father stood to carve the turkey, his annual performance. Dressed in a crisp white shirt and tie, he looked every bit the part of the patriarch. His silver hair was perfectly combed, his posture ramrod straight despite being in his mid-60s. "Before we begin," he announced, crystal glass in hand, "I'd like to propose a toast to our family and all our blessings this year." He began to methodically list each family member's achievements. To Thomas, whose financial consulting firm landed the Westbrook account last month. To Jennifer, whose charity gala raised over $50,000 for the Children's Hospital. To Paul, who made partner at his law firm. To Aiden, who made the travel soccer team, and Zoe, who received the citizenship award at school. He paused, his gaze deliberately skipping over Madeline and me. And to Eleanor, whose tireless dedication makes these family gatherings possible. The omission hung in the air, heavy and palpable. As the faint clink of silverware filled the room, a sudden voice broke the tension. Jennifer's child, quiet until now, leaned toward Madeline and murmured, "You don't belong here, do you?" The room's energy shifted. I glanced at Madeline, her eyes wide with confusion and hurt. In that moment, I saw the truth. Our exile wasn't just parental. The children echoed the grown-ups' silent hierarchies. Madeline was suffering the same exclusion I had endured. I felt a surge of protectiveness. No matter what happened tonight, I would shield her from the harsh reality of our family's treatment. She deserved to believe in the warmth and acceptance that should come with family, even if the truth was painfully different. As the evening unfolded, I vowed to assert my independence and live authentically, not just for myself, but for Madeline. The scent of rain lingered outside, a reminder that storms can clear the air, making way for new beginnings. The clink of silverware against porcelain and the musky sweetness of Grandma's perfume rushed back. Thanksgiving, 8 years ago. Samantha was younger, her laughter easier but still outside the circle, watching her siblings' jokes bounce among each other. Her fingers trembled on a cloth napkin. She pressed it smooth, warmth prickling her eyes as no one noticed her trying to contribute. That ache, sharp and familiar, returns with every forced smile. "Madeline!" I barely recognized my daughter's sweet voice cutting through the silence. Confusion flickered in her wide eyes. "What about us, Mommy?" The room fell into a hush. Paul, Jennifer's husband, chuckled, dismissing her innocence. "Out of the mouths of babes," he said, his tone dripping with condescension. My father's tight smile broke the tension. "Ah, I suppose we can acknowledge Samantha's persistence. Consistency has its merits." The thinly veiled insult stung like a slap. Thank you, Dad. Madeline and I have had a good year. I tried to uplift the moment but struggled as my mother chimed in with the wrong name, mispronouncing Madeline's. What grade are you in now, Emily? I'm Madeline, Grandma, my daughter corrected with unwavering politeness. I'm in kindergarten. My teacher says I'm reading at a second-grade level. Her pride shimmered in the air, but my mother offered a non-committal grunt. As the conversation tightened like a noose around us, Aiden's accomplishments came up, as did Jennifer's daughter's art displayed in the school lobby. Whenever I shared Madeline's drawing talent, the focus shifted back faster than I could blink. Even the food served was a clear message. The best portions were strategically placed away from Madeline and me. I felt my father's sharp comments slicing through the room like a knife. So, Samantha, he pressed, his voice dripping with judgment, have you thought about providing Madeline with a proper father figure? A child needs stability, you know. I took a deep breath, attempting to guard my emotions. Madeline has stability. We have a lovely home, routines, and endless love. But my father couldn't see it. But not a man in the house, he insisted, as if missing the essence of our family life completely. Jennifer leaped in, eager to reaffirm every twisted belief that clung to tradition. With every hurtful word spoken, I vowed to shield Madeline from this family reality. We may be an outcast here, but I would teach her that love has many shapes, and the way forward was to embrace our truth even when the world tried to shut us out. The scent of rain lingered outside, a reminder that storms can clear the air and make way for fresh starts. Speaking of family values, she said with a meaningful glance at her husband, Paul and I have an announcement. All attention immediately shifted to my sister, who placed her hand on her still flat stomach. We're expecting baby number 3 will be joining us next June. The table erupted in excitement. My mother actually clapped her hands together in delight. My father stood up again to propose another toast. Madeline looked at me clearly, sensing the stark difference between the reception of Jennifer's news and the cool acknowledgement of our existence. That's wonderful news, I said sincerely, because despite everything, I didn't begrudge my sister, her happiness, or her growing family. Congratulations, Jennifer and Paul. Thank you, Jennifer said, barely glancing my way before turning to our mother. We're thinking of converting the guest room into a nursery. I was hoping you could help with the design, Mom. Of course. Oh, this is just wonderful news. Another grandchild. My mother beamed pointedly, not mentioning that Madeline was also her grandchild. As dessert was being served, Thomas cleared his throat. Since we're sharing good news, I have an announcement as well. Henderson Financial has offered me a directorship. It comes with a significant salary increase and stock options. Another round of effusive congratulations followed. My father actually teared up something I'd never seen him do for any accomplishment of mine. This calls for the good scotch, he declared, rising to retrieve his prized bottle from the cabinet. While he was gone, Madeline tugged at my sleeve. Mommy, can I tell everyone about my art prize at school? Of course, sweetheart, I said, giving her an encouraging nod. Madeline sat up straight. I got a blue ribbon for my painting at school, she announced proudly. It's going to be in the winter art show. There was a moment of awkward silence before my mother said, That's nice, dear. Jennifer, tell me more about your plans for the nursery. Madeline's face fell and I felt a surge of protective anger. Actually, I said, my voice stronger than I intended. Madeline's achievement is quite special. Only 3 students in the entire elementary school were selected for the district showcase. Well, not everyone can afford private school art programs, Jennifer said with a dismissive wave. I'm sure the public school standards are different. Madeline attends Westfield Academy. I corrected her, naming one of the most prestigious private schools in our area. What my family didn't know was that I served on the board of trustees and had endowed a scholarship program there. Westfield, my mother looked surprised. How can you possibly afford that on your salary? I manage my money carefully, I said simply. Must be those child support payments from the absent father, my father remarked as he returned with his scotch. At least he's good for something. Actually, Jack has never paid a penny in child support, I said, my voice tight. Madeline's education is entirely my responsibility, and I'm proud to provide it for her. An uncomfortable silence fell over the table, broken by Aidan, reaching across to grab a cookie. His elbow knocked against a crystal bowl, sending it toppling toward Madeline's lap. She jerked back instinctively, and the bowl crashed to the floor, shattering into dozens of pieces. Madeline Jennifer exclaimed, "Look what you've done!" "It wasn't me," Madeline said in a small voice. Aidan bumped it. "Don't blame my son for your clumsiness," Jennifer snapped. I opened my mouth to defend Madeline, but my father's voice cut through the room like ice. "That was your grandmother's crystal, Samantha. A family heirloom. This is exactly why we can't have nice things around your child." Didn't," I began. "I saw what happened." He interrupted. "Your daughter jerked her arm and knocked it over, just like you always were, careless and then quick to blame others." Madeline's eyes filled with tears. "I'm sorry, Grandpa. I didn't mean to." The room hummed with the familiar scent of lemon polish and dust. Sunlight fractured into sharp blades across the velvet couches. Caroline's fingers brushed against the cold, faceted glass of her mother's heirloom. Memories bubbled up like a long-buried treasure, her mother's voice cutting through the years, echoing from an argument that still twisted within her. "Why can't you just conform?" it seemed to ask. In that moment, Caroline's heart drummed a heavy beat, shame wrapping around her like a vine. Crystal clinked against marble, and the ghost of laughter from family gatherings lingered, both mocking and haunting. The sting of blame felt older than Madeline, older than Caroline herself. Now, with her daughter at the table, the cycle threatened to repeat. "Of course you didn't," her mother sighed, eyes filled with resignation. "But intentions don't mend broken heirlooms, do they?" Caroline's carefully constructed facade began to shatter as she watched her daughter shrink into herself, accepting blame for a mishap that wasn't her doing. Such weight pressed upon her chest, a burden shared by too many. The crystal's explosion echoed a rift in the family's foundation as her father stood, his face flushed with both anger and too much scotch. "This is exactly what I mean," he thundered. "No discipline, no respect for family traditions." He pointed at Madeline, whose eyes brimmed with tears, fighting to hold them back. "This is what happens when children grow up in broken homes." A layer of protective anger surged within Caroline, amplifying her voice, shaking off the veneer of calm she'd mastered over the years. "Dad, it was an accident. It wasn't Madeline's fault." His gaze turned cold, sharpening. "Don't lecture me on family structures, Caroline. You, who couldn't even maintain a relationship with your child's father. Look at you, 30 years old, no husband, no stable career, living God knows how in that shabby house of yours, sending her to a school you can't afford. You're drowning in debt like always." Across the table, her brother shifted uncomfortably. "Maybe this isn't the time, Dad." "No, I'm done pretending." Her father cut him off. "Your sister is a disgrace, headstrong, rebellious, refusing to follow the life we laid out for her." "Madeline is not a mistake," Caroline shot back, her voice steady and resolute. "Look closely. This isn't about her. It's about you, clinging to your outdated notions of family." The tension thickened. The room buzzed, heavy with unsaid words and hurt. In that moment, Caroline made a choice. She would navigate this storm for Madeline. To live authentically, she would cut the chains of blame. Caroline was determined. She would protect her daughter. She was ready to rise from the ashes of a fractured past, to shape a new legacy. It was time to break the cycle. They'd gathered to discuss business ventures and charity projects, their laughter echoing like a warm embrace. Then, with just a flicker of the eyes, the mood twisted cold. "I have another daughter," they would remember, expressing pity that cut deep. the single mother, the family embarrassment. Each word hit me like a slap, but I stayed composed, even as Madeline's small frame quivered beside me. My father gestured dramatically to the shards of broken crystal, remnants of a fragile legacy. "She's raising that child to be reckless," he spat. "Just like you." "That's enough," I said, my voice steadied by the storm brewing inside. "Is it?" He turned to me, anger radiating from his stance. "I've had enough. Enough of your sulking at family functions. Enough of seeing you raise that child without proper discipline. Enough of the disgrace you bring upon our name." Jennifer, emboldened by his tirade, chimed in. "You've always thought you were special, Sam. But look where that has led you. A dead-end job, no husband. A struggle to give your daughter what our children have." "A real home," my father said, the words dripping with disdain. "Two parents, stability, values." Madeline's tears flowed freely now, her small body trembling against me. I wrapped my arm around her, the weight of our reality heavy on my heart. "We're leaving," I announced, trying to hold back my own storm. "Running away again, I see," my father sneered. "Can't face the truth." "The truth is, you've never accepted Madeline or me for who we are," I shot back, anger sharpening my words. "And I'm done letting you belittle us." His face reddened, rage bubbling beneath the surface. "You want to know who made you small, Samantha? You did, with your poor choices and stubborn refusal to listen." Madeline buried her face deeper into my side, her small frame shaking as she sobbed. "Get out!" my father suddenly roared, slamming his hand down on the table, making the silverware rattle. In that electric moment, the silence felt like a scream. Would I capitulate to the drumbeat of their expectations, or stand tall in my truth? The air crackled with tension, a choice waiting to be made. I could feel Madeline's heart racing against me, waiting for an answer. The world spun around us, but I was ready to fight for her, and for myself. Would I dare to claim my rightful place, or would I let them define me forever? The sweet scent of cinnamon and nutmeg wafted from the kitchen, mingling with laughter's warmth and candlelight, the essence of Thanksgiving before everything fell apart. Caroline lingered at the stairwell, clutching the memory of Madeline's small hands nestled in hers, the echoes of her laughter twirling in the air, her father's gentle voice making the day feel safe, whole. Now, that familiar fragrance twisted into something painful, transforming comfort into a bittersweet reminder of loss. "Get out of this house, you ungrateful, disrespectful piece of trash, and take your ill-mannered child with you." Silence crashed over the table like a wave, as if time had frozen. Even Jennifer looked taken aback by their father's venom. "It's Thanksgiving." Her voice barely rose above a whisper. "I don't care what day it is," he replied, the disdain dripping from each word. "You're a disgrace, Samantha. A disgrace to the Andrews name." Surrounded by familiar faces, pale and stoic, reluctant to intervene, Caroline felt the weight of years of family expectations pressing down. She inhaled deeply, gathering what was left of her dignity like armor. "Fine," she said, her voice steady despite the storm brewing inside her. She turned to Madeline. "Get your coat, sweetheart. We're going home." "But Mommy!" Madeline's voice trembled with confusion and tears. "What about Grandma's pie?" "There will be other pies," Caroline promised, her heart aching at the innocence tangled in cruelty. "That's right. Run away," her father sneered, the criticisms sharp and biting. Staying composed, she dressed Madeline in her coat, collecting their purse and car keys, despite the chaos inside. As they reached the front door, Caroline turned back to face her family who had trailed behind them. "For years, I wanted your approval, your acceptance," she began, her voice unwavering. "I wanted Madeline to have the family I thought I had. But now, that illusion is shattered. This isn't a family. It's a hierarchy of judgment and conditional love." "How dare you!" her father roared, but Caroline held up her hand. To her surprise, he fell silent. "Madeline and I deserve better than this. We deserve love free of stipulations and criticism. Thank you for making that so abundantly clear today." In that moment, Caroline realized their toxic grip on her life had finally loosened. The air crackled with newfound freedom, and she stepped outside, holding Madeline's hand tightly. The rush of cold autumn air felt like liberation against her skin. Perhaps this was the beginning, not just for her, but for her daughter too. A chance to embrace independence and craft a new life, filled with love that was unconditional. Would she find the courage to face the journey ahead? The choice was hers, and for the first time, she felt ready to reclaim her story. I opened the door and stepped into the chilling embrace of the November evening air. With the faint echoes of my father's angry voice fading behind us, I felt a sense of liberation washing over me. "Why does Grandpa hate us, Mommy?" Madeline asked, her small body trembling with confusion. I took a deep breath, turning to her in the dim light of our car. "He doesn't hate us, sweetheart. He just doesn't understand us, and that's not our problem anymore." As we drove away from the house I'd been secretly keeping from foreclosure, a determination sparked within me. It was time to stop hiding my success, to stop enabling their cruelty. Finally, I would build a life grounded in love and genuine connections rather than familial obligation. We checked into a luxury hotel that night, a sanctuary away from family judgment. I ordered room service, a Thanksgiving feast just for us. As we indulged in ice cream sundaes, cozied up in fluffy hotel robes, I watched Madeline's smile slowly wash away the remnants of sorrow. Eventually, her eyelids fluttered shut, drifting into a peaceful sleep. I savored the moment, knowing today marked a monumental shift for us. The morning sun crept through the hotel suite's windows, illuminating the plush carpet in golden hues. Madeline lay curled up in the king-sized bed, her golden curls cascading over her pillow. While she slept soundly, I was wide awake, finalizing the details of our fresh start. My phone buzzed. Diane, my executive assistant, and my secret weapon. "Morning, Sam," she greeted me, her voice calm and reassuring. "Everything's set as you requested. The Miami house is being prepped, and your office will be ready Monday. Madeline's school transfer is underway, and they can't wait to have her mid-year." "Thank you, Diane," I replied, keeping my voice low to avoid waking Madeline. There was still one more matter. "Have they prepared the financials?" "Yes," she responded. "Your team is ready for your go-ahead to cut all support from Shell Corporation. Just say the word." I took a deep breath, the weight of the decision heavy in my chest. This was about more than just moving. Would I finally find the strength to step into my own light? Could I forge a future where my worth wasn't measured by my family's approval? With the ocean breeze still lingering in my heart, I felt a flicker of hope ignite. The journey ahead promised challenges, but I was ready. Finally, ready to reclaim my story. For years, I'd been anonymously supporting my family, paying my parents' mortgage funding, Thomas's business ventures covering Jennifer's children's private school tuition and her lavish lifestyle additions. All through carefully constructed shell companies and scholarships that couldn't be traced back to me. "Do it," I said firmly. "Terminate all financial support effective immediately. Are you sure? It's going to be quite a shock for them. I'm sure it's time they understood what real consequences feel like." After hanging up, I called Michael, my financial advisor. "Sam, I got your email. Are you certain about this? It's a significant change to your financial structure." "I've never been more certain of anything," I replied. "No more anonymous support. No more hiding my success. It's time for honesty." "All right, I'll dissolve the shell corporations and redirect those funds into your foundation account instead. Your family will start receiving notices about overdue payments within days." "Thank you, Michael." As I ended the call, Madeline stirred and sat up, rubbing her eyes. "Mommy, where are we?" "At a hotel, remember? We had our own Thanksgiving dinner here last night." Her face clouded as memories of the previous evening returned. "Are we going home now?" I sat beside her on the bed and took her small hands in mine. Actually, I was thinking we might have a new adventure. How would you feel about moving to our house in Miami? The one right by the beach that we visited last spring. Her eyes widened. The one with the swimming pool and the big palm trees. That's the one. But what about school and your work? There's a wonderful school in Miami that would love to have you. And I can work from anywhere. That's one of the perks of being the boss. She tilted her head. You're the boss. I thought you helped people with computer problems. I smiled, realizing how much I'd hidden from everyone, even my own daughter in some ways. The scent of autumn leaves and wood smoke drifts through Caroline Mitchell's mind, pulling her back to a childhood morning in Maryland. She closes her eyes, feeling the chill of the air as she kneads dough at her grandmother's kitchen counter. The silence is thick, filled with unspoken words and expectations. Her mother's tight smile lingers, a reminder of the isolation that crept in long before Caroline realized she would never truly fit in. Years later, she stands at a crossroads, ready to reclaim her story. For too long, she's been the silent supporter, funding her family's lavish lifestyles through hidden channels. But now, it's time for a change. Terminate all financial support effective immediately, she tells her financial advisor, her voice steady. They need to understand real consequences. As she hangs up, her daughter Madeline stirs awake. "Mommy, where are we?" she asks, her small voice filled with confusion. Caroline smiles, taking her daughter's hands. "We're at a hotel, remember? But I have an idea. How would you feel about moving to our house in Miami?" Madeline's eyes light up. "The one with the swimming pool and big palm trees?" "That's the one," Caroline confirms, her heart swelling with hope. "And you know what? It's time everyone knew who we really are." Over breakfast, Caroline explains their wealth to Madeline in simple terms. "We've kept it a secret, but now we can be ourselves." Madeline's innocent question hangs in the air. Will we ever see Grandma and Grandpa again? "That's up to them," Caroline replies, her voice firm. "They need to learn to be kind and respectful to us first." With that, they check out of the hotel and head home to pack. Soon, they're on a private flight to Miami, leaving the cold Maryland November behind for the warm embrace of Florida sunshine. Their new home is a stunning contemporary masterpiece, and Madeline's joy is palpable as she explores her new bedroom and playroom. "This is really our house?" she asks, eyes wide with wonder. "Really and truly," Caroline assures her, "and now we don't have to pretend." The first week in Miami is a breath of fresh air. They swim in the ocean, explore their neighborhood, and visit Madeline's new school. The weight of judgment and pretense begins to lift, but then the calls start. "Sam, something weird is happening." Thomas's voice crackles through the phone, panic evident. "The angel investors pulled out. Did you hear anything about a market shift?" "No," Caroline replies, her calmness a stark contrast to his panic. "But I'm sure a successful businessman like you has contingency plans." Next, Jennifer's voice cuts through, tight with fury. "What have you done?" Caroline takes a deep breath, ready to face the storm. She's finally living authentically, and there's no turning back now. The rain pattered against the old window panes, each drop a reminder of the storm pooling in Samantha's heart. The phone pressed against her ear. She fought back tears as her mother's trembling voice echoed with urgency. "Samantha, something terrible has happened. The foreclosure notice is here." A lump formed in her throat. Her father's voice, usually so commanding, now cracked with fear. "They say we haven't made mortgage payments in months." The weight of that silence hung heavy between them. "Mom, have you talked to a financial advisor?" "We can't afford one right now," she replied, her desperation palpable. "We might lose the home you grew up in. Don't you care?" "I care about a lot of things, Mom," Samantha responded, her heart aching. The way her family treated her daughter was fading into insignificance. Days turned into an anxious blur. Then, just after Thanksgiving, that call she'd dreaded came. "Samantha," her father stated, his tone stripped of its usual authority. "Something's wrong. The bank claims we've missed payments, but the statements show they're paid." Fingers fidgeting, she glanced at her daughter, Madeline, drawing pictures on the terrace. "Have you considered that maybe the foundation of your lives wasn't what you thought it was?" "What are you talking about?" he snapped, a flicker of his old temper shining through. "Dad, where do you think the money has come from all these years? After your investments tanked? After Thomas's businesses fell apart? Look at Jennifer and Paul living beyond their means." A tense silence enveloped the line. His voice dropped to a whisper. "What do you know about any of this?" Samantha's resolve tightened. She could feel the betrayal hanging in the air, crawling under her skin. She had to protect Madeline, to assert her independence, even if it meant facing the ones she had loved most. In that moment, rain mixed with the scent of fresh hope. The walls had started to close in, but Samantha was determined to break free and reclaim her identity. As each new revelation surfaced, so did her resilience. She realized the path to authentic living was paved with heartache, but it was hers to navigate, for her daughter and for herself. The storm inside her was just beginning to unravel, and she was ready to face it all. "I know everything about it because I'm the one who's been paying for all of it for years." "That's impossible. You work in tech support. I own Stratasoft, the company that acquired Tech Fusion for $20 million 3 years ago. I'm the CEO and majority shareholder." The silence that followed was so complete I could hear his breathing. "That's not possible," he finally said, but his voice lacked conviction. "The mortgage payments on your house have been coming from a shell corporation called Andrews Heritage Holdings. I created it to anonymously support you and Mom after the recession. Thomas's angel investors, that was me. Jennifer's children's scholarships, my educational foundation, the family vacations, the new cars, the country club memberships, all me. Why?" He started, then cleared his throat. "Why would you hide this from us?" "Because I wanted you to accept me and Madeline for who we are, not what I could give you. I wanted authentic relationships, not financial ones. But I've realized that was never going to happen. Samantha, if what you're saying is true, you need to restart these payments immediately. Your mother and I are about to lose our home. Your brother's business is collapsing. Your sister's children. My sister's children will be fine attending public school, just like the family Disgrace, and her daughter would have been fine in your eyes." The bitterness I'd kept contained for years edged into my voice. "You called me trash, Dad. You threw your own granddaughter out into the cold on Thanksgiving. Actions have consequences. You can't do this to your family," he protested. But the imperious tone that had intimidated me for decades was gone, replaced by naked fear. "I'm not doing anything to you," I replied. "I'm simply stopping doing things for you. There's a difference. What do you want? An apology? Fine. I apologize for what I said. I was upset about the crystal. This isn't about the crystal, Dad. It's about years of conditional love and judgment." The scent of polished wood and roasting turkey flooded the air in the grand dining room. Yet, amid the elegant chaos, Caroline Mitchell felt an icy isolation. Her father, William Foster, paced, his polished shoes echoing frustration as he dismissed Madeline. Caroline's fingers tightened around her napkin. She didn't miss the sting of humiliation in Madeline's eyes. The cold of exclusion cut deeper than the November chill. That moment carved a vow into Caroline's soul. One day, she would drown out the judgments with laughter. Years later, alone in Miami, an unexpected call shattered that calm. "Caroline, where are you? We need to talk," William demanded, his voice colder than the snow-draped winters of Maryland. "Madeline and I have moved to Miami," she said, the words freeing her. "We're starting fresh, where we can be ourselves." "Miami? You can't just take my granddaughter away," he fumed. A laugh escaped her, sharp and liberating. "You forfeited all rights to a say when you called her ill-mannered and kicked her out of Thanksgiving dinner." The silence that followed felt monumental. William's world tilted, unsteady. "You need to restart the payments. Your mother and I are about to lose our home." Her voice hardened, sharper than glass. "This isn't about money, Dad. It's about teaching Madeline that she deserves respect, not conditional love wrapped in dollar bills." In that moment, for the first time in her life, Caroline felt in control. As she ended the call, the sunset bathed her beachfront terrace in warm gold, the sun dipping below the waves like a distant memory of her past. "Mom, are Grandma and Grandpa going to be okay?" Madeline asked, worry knitting her brows. "They will be fine, just not living off our backs anymore." Madeline's eyes widened. Was that a secret? "It was," Caroline admitted, brushing her daughter's hair back gently. "But we don't need secrets anymore, only us being us." The acknowledgement set them free, sealing a pact that echoed through the years. December in Miami unveiled a new world. While Maryland was buried under snow, Caroline and Madeline reveled in soft beach breezes, light sweaters, and joy. They built sandcastles, the tides washing away old burdens as laughter replaced the weight of family dysfunction. In this vibrant, sun-kissed life, Caroline finally felt the beauty of independence blossom. No longer merely a daughter, she was now a mother, a protector, and a beacon of light. The warmth of the sun felt like a hug, wrapping around us as we embraced our new lives. Madeline was thriving at Wellington Preparatory Academy. Her teachers recognized her artistic spark and nurtured her curiosity. Without the weight of family judgment, she blossomed. Each day she came home bubbling with excitement, sharing stories of art projects and science experiments. I was finally building my own dreams, too. I launched my company's Miami office, diving into a passion project, creating affordable coding curricula for underprivileged schools. No longer did I worry about fitting into a mold for my family. Instead, I focused on building a genuine support network. Our neighbors, the Ramirez family, had twin daughters Madeline's age. Soon, playdates and family dinners became our new normal. I joined a women's mentoring group, connecting with ambitious women who celebrated independence rather than criticized it. For the first time, I felt free. I wasn't hiding any part of myself. Meanwhile, my family situation was shifting. Calls and messages flooded in, their tone evolving from angry demands to desperate pleas for reconciliation. My mother was the first to reach out genuinely. Thomas was next. His business on the verge of collapse. He swallowed his pride and called to ask for advice rather than a handout. "I don't understand how you did it," he admitted during a video call. "Built something so successful from scratch." "Hard work," I told him, "and understanding what people actually need versus what you think they should want." "I've never been good at that," he said with surprising self-awareness. "I've always been busy trying to impress Dad." "How's that working out?" I asked, not unkindly. He laughed woefully. "Not great. He's how different now. Quieter. Sometimes I catch him staring at your old pictures from college. I think he misses you. He misses the idea of controlling me." I corrected. "That's different from missing me." Thomas considered this maybe. Or maybe he's realizing what he lost by trying to control you all these years. Over the following weeks, Thomas and I developed a new kind of sibling relationship. I didn't rescue his business, but I did connect him with advisors who could help him restructure it on a more sustainable model. He began to see me as a peer rather than his little sister who had made a mess of her life, and I found I enjoyed his company when it wasn't colored by competition and judgment. Jennifer proved the most resistant to change. When she finally called, her voice was tight with barely controlled anger. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" Aiden and Zoe had to leave their school mid-year. Do you know how traumatic that is for children? About as traumatic as being called ill-mannered and thrown out of Thanksgiving dinner. I suggested that was different. Madeline is younger. She probably doesn't even remember. "She remembers," I said firmly. "Children always remember when they're made to feel unwelcome. So this is revenge, punishing my children for something their grandfather said. This isn't punishment, Jennifer. It's reality. Paul makes a good salary. You live in a beautiful home. Your children will receive an excellent public education, just as they would have if I'd never stepped in with private school tuition. It's not the same, and you know it, she snapped. Not everyone has $20 million to throw around. No, they don't. Which is why those who do have resources should be treated with respect, not contempt. We ended the call at an impasse. But in the weeks that followed, small changes emerged. Jennifer's social media posts, once filled with expensive vacations and designer purchases, became more modest. She mentioned volunteering at Aiden and Zoe's new school, and eventually she sent a brief text after Madeline's birthday, asking if her daughter might like to video chat with her cousin sometime. It was a small olive branch, but I accepted it for Madeline's sake. The children, after all, were innocent in the adults' conflicts. My father remained the most distant. He communicated primarily through my mother, seemingly unable to directly address the reversal in our power dynamic. The mortgage on their house was modified to a more affordable payment after they sold one of their cars and cut back on country club memberships and other luxuries. I heard through Thomas that he'd taken a consulting position to supplement his retirement income, his first actual work in years. As Christmas approached, Madeline and I planned our first holiday celebration in our new home. We decorated a tree with ornaments we selected together, baked cookies with the Ramirez family next door, and discussed which traditions we wanted to keep and which new ones we might create. "Will we see Grandma and Grandpa for Christmas?" Madeline asked one evening as we hung stockings by our beachfront windows, an unconventional location in the absence of a fireplace. "Not this year, sweetheart," I told her, "but Grandma might come visit again in January. What about Grandpa?" I hesitated, wanting to be honest without burdening her. Grandpa is still learning some important lessons about how to treat people kindly. When he's ready to do that, he can visit too. She considered this solemnly. People can change if they really want to, right? Yes, I agreed, hugging her close. People can change if they want to badly enough. We hosted Christmas dinner for our new friends and neighbors, filling our home with laughter and genuine warmth. As I watched Madeline explaining her artwork to our guests with confidence and joy, I realized we had created something my parents' perfectly decorated home had always lacked, a place where people felt valued for exactly who they were. Later that night, after Madeline had gone to bed, I sat on our terrace overlooking the moonlit ocean and reflected on how completely our lives had transformed in just 1 month. The phone call that had finally freed us from pretense had come on Thanksgiving, but the true liberation had been internal. The courage to live authentically and demand the respect we deserved. My phone buzzed with a text message. It was from my father, the first direct communication since our confrontation. "Merry Christmas to you and Madeline," it read. "Your mother shows me the pictures you send. The house looks nice. Hope you're both well." It wasn't an apology. It wasn't a reconciliation, but it was an acknowledgement of our existence without criticism or judgment. And for now, that was enough. I texted back a simple Merry Christmas and returned my gaze to the ocean, feeling a sense of peace settle over me. We had created a home where Madeline would grow up, knowing her worth wasn't determined by others' expectations, where she would learn that respect must be earned, not demanded, where she would understand that family could be defined by love and acceptance rather than obligation and judgment. It was the greatest gift I could have given her and myself. 6 months after that fateful Thanksgiving dinner, Miami's summer heat had settled over the city like a warm embrace. Madeline had completed her first semester at Wellington Prep with glowing reports from her teachers and a growing circle of friends. Her artwork had been featured in the school's spring exhibition, and her self-confidence blossomed with each passing day. I sat on our beachfront terrace watching her build an elaborate sandcastle with the Ramirez twins, her laughter carrying on the sea breeze. The change in her was remarkable. Gone was the hesitant child who second-guessed herself, replaced by a vibrant, assertive little girl who knew her own mind. The healing hadn't happened overnight. In those first weeks after Thanksgiving, Madeline had frequent nightmares about being yelled at, about not being good enough. We worked through it together with the help of a gentle child psychologist who specialized in family trauma. Gradually, the nightmares subsided, replaced by dreams of ocean adventures and flying through clouds. My own healing journey had been more complex. Years of conditioning to seek approval from people who were fundamentally incapable of giving. It couldn't be undone in a single moment of courage. There were days when old doubts crept in, when I questioned whether I'd done the right thing in cutting off financial support and exposing my success. But those moments grew fewer and farther between as I built a life centered on authenticity rather than appearance. I expanded my company's educational initiatives, creating a foundation specifically designed to support single parents in the tech industry. The work was deeply fulfilling, a way of transforming my own painful experiences into something that could help others. My relationships with my family had evolved into something I never would have imagined possible. My mother visited monthly each time, seeming a bit more relaxed, a bit more genuine. The salty air wrapped around Caroline Mitchell as she strolled barefoot along the shore with her daughter Madeline. The fine grains of wet sand slipped between her toes, while Madeline's giggles harmonized with the rhythm of the crashing waves. That morning felt raw, exposed, alive, a stark contrast to the suffocating expectations Caroline had borne her whole life. The briny scent filled her lungs, mingling with the cool breeze, stirring feelings of longing and the haunting shadow of childhood memories. She remembered Eleanor, the mother who could never show softness. Heels clicking, always dressed to impress, constantly living for the approval of others. Fast forward 6 months, and Miami's summer sun glowed warmly over Caroline and Madeline. Madeline had just completed her first semester at Wellington Prep, her teachers raving about her growth. Together, they built sandcastles, laughter echoing on the sea breeze, and the transformation was nothing short of astonishing. Gone was the shy little girl who doubted herself. She had blossomed into a spirited, confident child. Yet the road to healing wasn't easy. Nightmares haunted Madeline, remnants of fear and rejection. With care, they pushed through it, the gentle hand of a child psychologist guiding them to brighter dreams. For Caroline, the healing was layered and complex. Years spent seeking validation from a family who couldn't give it meant the scars ran deep. Yet, she pressed on, forging a life rooted in authenticity. Was it the right choice to sever the ties from her past? Those moments of doubt dwindled as she expanded her company's initiatives, creating a foundation dedicated to supporting single parents in tech. It was healing for both her and others, turning her pain into purpose. Her relationships with family shifted in ways she had never imagined. During her mother's last visit, Eleanor, once a paragon of social perfection, had kicked off her shoes and walked barefoot beside Madeline. What a revelation that was. I was so focused on others' opinions that I forgot to ask myself what I wanted, Eleanor admitted, exposing a vulnerability Caroline had yearned to see. There was even Thomas, her brother, who had redefined his life into a more sustainable business, and now they worked together, each enriching the other's journey. Their dynamic shifted from rivalry to partnership, a beautiful irony of family dynamics. Jennifer, though distant, began to change. Initially resentful toward Caroline's and her children's new circumstances, she eventually acknowledged their adaptation. Aidan thrived in science. Zoe embraced friendships with a diverse circle. "I still think you could have warned us," Jennifer said during a rare phone call. But could they have listened? And then there was Richard, her father. The last to reach across the chasm, pride had always kept him at bay. But life had a way of shifting perspectives. A minor heart attack brought Caroline flying back to Maryland, sitting quietly with her mother in the hospital waiting room. When he finally appeared, frail and vulnerable, something shifted. "You came," he murmured, surprise lacing his voice. "Of course I did. You're still my father." The machines beeped softly, marking a fragile but significant connection, a moment of renewal amidst the echoes of the past. Would healing truly be possible? Would family mean something different now? Time would tell. Many people carry the weight of believing their unconventional families aren't good enough. They think they've failed for not adhering to society's norms. At a foundation event, I met a young mom who challenged that belief. "You define success on your terms," she told me. That night, her words echoed in my mind as I reflected on my own journey. I realized our need for acceptance is universal, and families can be shaped in ways that nourish us rather than tear us down. Madeline and I had forged our own definition of family. It wasn't just about blood ties. It included her grandparents, my colleagues, friends, and neighbors. Our community thrived on genuine care and mutual respect, not obligation or biology. As the sun dipped low over the ocean, casting a warm glow across the sky, I called Madeline in from building her sandcastle. The Ramirez family was coming over for a barbecue, and we needed to get ready. "Mom," she asked, her eyes sparkling in the fading light, "are you happy we moved here?" I looked at her, the golden sun illuminating her face filled with pure trust. "Incredibly happy," I replied. "What about you?" She nodded enthusiastically. "I love being just me, and I like that you're just you too." That struck a chord within me. "That's what matters most," I said, squeezing her small hand. "Being true to yourself is far greater than trying to fit someone else's mold." She paused and asked, "Even if it's family?" "Especially if it's family," I confirmed, the weight of my own history swirling in the air. Real family loves you for who you are, not who they wish you would be. Just then, the ambiance shifted. A sudden chill pierced the warm evening, jarring us from our moment. Paul walked in, a letter in hand, its embossed seal matching my family crest. I felt my heartbeat quicken as I snatched it from him. Tension hung in the air. My family hadn't just been watching. They were plotting, ready to turn my world upside down. Each tier of the envelope felt monumental, each second stretching into eternity. What did it contain? Secrets I thought buried deep? The whiff of the ocean breeze turned anxious as I opened it. Would my past unravel everything I've fought for in this new life? That night, surrounded by friends who had become family, I watched Madeline laugh and play. For the first time, there were no shadows of judgment looming over us. It struck me how a moment of crisis had led me to liberation. My father's cruel words at Thanksgiving had cut deep, but they sparked something greater, a chance to break free from the suffocating need for approval that I would never receive. The $20 million, just a number, a means to maintain an illusion that I could buy my family's acceptance. But now, revealing my success had changed more than their view of me. It transformed how I saw myself and what I would accept in relationships. As our guests trickled out and Madeline got ready for bed, my phone buzzed. It was my father. "Looking forward to seeing you and Madeline next week. Been practicing my sandcastle building skills." Just like that, a simple message, free of judgment. It was a sign of change I never thought possible. Not perfect, but a genuine effort to connect. "Mom," Madeline called from her bedroom, "can you read me a story?" "Coming, sweetheart," I replied, setting my phone aside and heading towards her voice. In that moment, I realized we were building a future together, one authentic moment at a time. Have you ever had to set boundaries with family who didn't respect your choices? I'd love to hear about your experiences. Remember, you deserve respect just as you are. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself is to demand it. Thank you for listening to my story. I wish you the courage to live authentically in your own life.